We'll get ready for our presentation today. So, welcome to Bernina Canada Live. My name is Adrienne Gallagher and I am an educator at Bernina Canada. Part of my job is to help diagnose things that are going wrong with sewing machines, and I work hand in hand with the technical department. And when we work together, we see a lot of problems that can be rectified with good cleaning and maintenance of your sewing machines. So that's what we're describing here today. Also, we're supposed to be physically distancing between ourselves and other people, so we might not be able to go to our favorite local quilt store and have our machine repaired. So let's keep it in good working order so we can get through this and get back to our stores. That being said, most of the stores are open, and you can certainly book an appointment and do a contactless transfer of your sewing machine at a store and have it looked at if you have a repair problem. So don't hesitate to reach out to your local store, and also they can give you advice over the phone. I know they do that at a lot of stores. They talk us down from the edge when we think we have a sewing machine problem. So let me tell you about the agenda for today. Oh no, it's not that long, don't worry about it. We're going to talk about the Bernina hook system and that machine and how to maintain it. We're going to do a quick look at the 8 series. We're going to look at front load machines as well as drop-in bobbin machines. We're going to look quickly at an overlocker and look at how we should maintain that. And I have a treat for you. I have a vintage Bernina here today. So welcome everyone. And the final bonus topic that you can't let me forget is how to prepare your machine and yourself for a trip to the service bay. It's really important that you follow a couple of these guidelines for the best results. So let me get you through all this information and get to the good stuff at the end, right? All right, Sarah, we're gonna zoom in on this machine. This is my 480. And this is my newest machine, my 480. I've had him for a year. This is Hamish. So everybody say hi to Hamish. I was talking to a couple sewing friends today, and I did like a true confession. Do you name your sewing machines? And the people that I talked today, they all name their sewing machines. So if you have a funny name for your sewing machine, excuse me, share it with us. We'd love to hear it. All right. So, oh, it's Hetty. Hi, Hetty. How are you doing? So, how do we maintain our 9 series or Bernina hook series machines? A good thing to, I'm going to go to my notes. We should clean these machines as much as possible. Very rarely have I seen a machine that's too clean. So, let's start with that and get ready to clean our machine. I've already removed the table. And now I'm gonna take the thread out of my machine. So I'm just gonna pull the thread. I've cut the thread at the spool. We don't need to show that. But I pull it out this way. I always pull it out the way it travels through the machine and not out backwards. It could get caught in the take-up lever. And of course, like my friend Diane says, this thread makes all kinds of lint here around the needle. And if I pull the thread backwards, where do you think that lint is gonna go? Yeah, it goes back into your machine, and it could eventually get into your tension discs, and then maybe you have bad stitch quality. So the best practice is to pull the thread down and away from your machine. I meant to grab a piece of flannel because I use flannel scraps, and then I stick my threads to my flannel scraps, and then they don't go away. All right, we're going to remove our foot. So easy to do with the Bernina system, and we're going to take out our needle. And this is a needle I've been using for a while, so I'm going to put it in my sharps container. I'm going to put it in here. This is where I save my bent pins, my safety pins that have rusted, and my needles, they just stay in there. And we're going to pop out the needle plate, which you know how to do. It's really easy. You just push on the little bullseye and it pops right out. And as you can see, my little friend is a little dusty. I've been sewing all day yesterday. So what you want to do is you could use the brush that came with your machine. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to lean over here. It's the little one that rolled away. It looks similar to this one. You can use that one, that's great. You want to clean your feed dogs out in particular and clear as much of this dust away. You could use this is a brush that I bought at a store for about $2.99. It's a great brush. It's similar in construction to this brush, but it's a lot bigger, so it just gets the job done a lot faster, which is great. So I just clean out all that very gently, trying to pull the lint out as opposed to pushing it in. You actually just want to pull it out. You want to resist any temptation to blow into the machine, right? We don't want to blow the lint in further. We want to take the lint out. You could use a vacuum attachment. Sometimes people suggest that. That's a great idea. Michelle, I'm so glad you like the name Hamish. Isn't that awesome? I love that name. Yeah, if I had 2 girl children, but I really threatened to name my boy child Hamish, so lucky for them. Anyway, so once you've cleaned that all out, oh, and the other thing is don't use compressed air. Compressed air sounds like a great idea, and our technicians use compressors at the office to push the lint out. But remember, they take the covers off. So the lint will go right through the machine, and that's how they get away with using compressors. And they use compressed air, or compressors to compress air. Compressed air that comes in the can also has a propellant in it, which it has moisture in it, and you can leave moisture in your machine, and it's never really a good thing to leave moisture in a machine. So we don't want to do that. So you're going to clean your feed dogs really nicely. I'm going to come back to this circular oiling point because that is a very big contentious thing in Bernina land right now, and we are going to address that today. Then you're going to open this area out and you're going to clean it out. Oh, this is my favorite brush. I bought this one at a craft store that rhymes with Schmeichel's. And this one is a natural brush, and look how much it attracts the lint. It's great. I love this one, and it's all done at once, and I feel fancy. Yeah. All right, so now we're going to take out the bobbin case. You guys know how to do that. You press on the spring. This comes out. I always inspect my bobbin case, looking for nicks that the needle might have hit my bobbin case. I actually broke a needle sewing some elastic last week, so I am inspecting and looking for... No, it looks like my bobbin case is fine. I'm going to look inside. There is a wire inside that's really kind of hard to see, especially when I wiggle around. But there's a wire that sort of pokes out here and wraps around. And I'm just checking that it's in its normal place. It is, so I'm not going to play with this too much longer. I'm going to leave it alone. So that's the bobbin and the bobbin case. It looks good. I'm going to now take out the hook of the machine. The hook is the thing that makes the stitch. It's the most important part to my machine. So I'm going to release the little lever here on the left-hand side, and the hook race cover pops out, and then I can pull out the hook. And this is the thing, the whole thing that makes the stitch on your machine. And again, I'm going to clean that off with whatever brush strikes my fancy at the moment. Could be anything. And again, I'm just inspecting and looking for any damage, any broken needles that might have attached to the magnet back there. This is held in with a magnet. And sometimes when I break a needle, I can't find all the pieces of it, but I'll find one there. You never know. So I've inspected that, and now I'm going to clean the hook area. Again, I can use my little brush. But Sarah laughed at me because my very favorite tool is a branded cotton swab, and I love to use this to just take out the excess oil, the oil that is saturated with lint, and it just really attracts the lint. It pulls out the excess oil, and I can put those in the garbage. They will break down. There's cotton, and this is made of paper. Don't buy the plasticky ones. They don't break down over time. They're going to be with us forever. All right, so I've cleaned all the oil off. That's amazing. We don't have any questions about this yet, do we? Oh, good. Kim's here, Seb's here, everybody's here. That's amazing. Now, the one thing you want to do before you get started putting this back is sometimes we get the dreaded hairball that forms right behind this black piece. And I was pretty sure I had, I think that's one. I think I had one in there. No, it's gone. And what you need to do sometimes is use tweezers to pull that out. Really thin tweezers. Oh, look at that. Got it. I got it. All right, and that can affect stitch quality. The thread can get caught on that little hairball, and it can create stitch quality. Are there lenses inside that machine being cleaned? That's a great question. I'm working on a 480 today, and there's no lenses here. But if you have a machine that has a bobbin monitor, you could have a black box here, and that is the bobbin monitor, right? When the door is closed, it's watching the bobbin spinning. And you should be careful to clear off the bobbin monitor window. You want to be doubly sure not to get any oil on it, because that would defeat the purpose, right? So you want to just keep it clean with your cotton swab or your brush. Great question. Thank you so much. That was Seb asking that. Susan says she needs more light on the inside. Yeah, I know. I'm not in a studio. I'm just in the basement, but you get the idea. Alrighty, so we've cleaned everything up. Now we have to oil. This is the very controversial part. Get ready for it. Here is the Bernina oiling pen that probably came with your machine. You may have a different one if you have a mechanical machine, but all of the electronic machines, 4 series, 5 series, 7 series, 8 series will come with this. And you just take the pen and you put a little bit of oil. Can you see that, Sarah? Can you see the middle of the black here? Yep. So then these felt pads need 1 drop of oil each. So I'm just going to put a drop of oil there and a drop of oil there. And I put a little too much. See, it's dripping out. And I fixed it. That's how difficult that is. Now, really interestingly, and I hope Sarah can pick this up, is this is where the felt needs to be oiled. And then the felt extends out here. And the felt extends out on the other side. If I flip this over, you'll see the same thing. See how the felt extends past? This is because as this spins like crazy, spins and spins and spins, the oil in that pad gets pulled out by centripetal force. Is that the right force, Sarah? You're studying physics. She's like, yeah, that sounds good. All right, so it gets pulled out and it's going to lubricate the back of the machine, of the hook, right? This is where all the metal is going to touch the metal. So that's what we want to happen. You can still see I have too much oil in there still. It might discolor my thread, so I'm just going to clean it off with my finger. And I don't need to waste that oil. I can just rub it on the back there. It's all good. You need to oil one more space, and that's right here. That's on the metal of this hook. And I just put 1 little drop on there. Sometimes if I feel like I'm a control freak, that's most of the days, right, Sarah? I can take my finger and just make sure that it goes all the way around. But honestly, when I make my first stitch, the hook is going to flip around and it's going to move the oil where it needs to be, if that makes sense to you. All right, so now we're ready to put the hook back in the machine. Oh, no, we're not. I wanted to talk about that terrible red point on the top of the machine. So this is where we used to have an oiling reservoir, and every time you went into service, your technician would clean out the reservoir, resaturate the reservoir. There's actually a little cotton pad in there. And a couple of times a year, you were to put 6 or 8 drops of oil in the reservoir. And that would carefully take the oil down to the hook, down through the back, and it would come out on the hook system. We don't do that oiling anymore. What we found is that debris, lint, adhesives, bits of broken needle, we're going in there and contaminating the oil. And then the oil would come out and would create a sludge on the hook and could cause damage to the hook and the hook race. So we've decided we don't oil there anymore. So we don't oil in the reservoir, which the reservoir was constantly bringing oil to the hook. So we're not doing that anymore. It means we got to oil the hook a lot more. So you got to oil this hook. Oh gosh. Every bobbin is what I do. I do it every bobbin, just because I like to, and it makes me feel good. You could go 2 bobbins, but no more. Remember, our Bernina bobbins are huge. They hold 170% more thread than a regular bobbin, so you want to change it often. All right, so we're ready to put the hook back in now, and you can see how awkward it is to put the hook in, right? You could try holding it in the center. Oh, it spins around and making it look so awkward, right, Sarah? Or you can do the technique I like, which is you use 2 thumbs and you pull it in. But there's a really great trick that is not my trick. I think I saw it first by Sue O'Very, but there's lots of other people that do it. Place your hook on the race cover. Sort of, I've got the notches lined up with the notches here. And then use the race cover to flip the hook into place. Get ready for it. Here it goes. And then if it's not perfectly in, because this one doesn't sound like it's in, I'm going to rotate the, can you still see? Maybe I'll come this way. I'm going to rotate the wheel until it clicks in. I can't do it because I'm in the wrong spot. There we go. Let's try it again. There we go. Two. It is a good trick when you do it right. There we go. Did you hear the click? The magnet really sucks it into the right place. I can check it visually by seeing that it's, and I check it with my finger. Yep, it's all seated correctly. And then I close the race cover. I don't go any further at this point. I just check that it works at this point because sometimes you get that dreaded 10-10 error, which means that the machine can't move the hook. And this is how I check that my hook is perfectly placed. You can applaud now. If you really liked that trick, you can send lots of likes and hearts. That would be great. But I love doing that. It makes my life a lot easier. All right. So before we move on to, there, you guys sent your likes. You're amazing. Thank you. So before we go any further, I just want to mention that this would be a great time to clean the thread catcher, also known as the thread cutter. And I'm just going to go to the screen, Sarah. I have to do a little setup on the screen here. Are you ready? She says yes. So if you go into the setup menu, and then you look for the machine, and then you look for tools, and then you look for cleaning, you can now have the instructions on how to clean the thread catcher. And you have to remove the foot, the needle, and the plate, and you have to lower the feed dogs. I can find my feed dogs. They're down the side. There we go. I lowered my feed dogs. All right, so the next step, Sarah, it's on the screen here, is it says select the link, and then it has some blue lettering. All you have to do is touch the blue lettering till you hear it engage. Come on and engage. There we go. So now I'm going to go back over to the machine. Sarah, focus on this part of the machine. And it says to press the scissor button. So I'm going to press the scissor button, but the action is down here. The threader is going to come out and stay in the out position. Normally it goes out and comes back in, but it's going to stay out. See, it stayed out. Now I can clean. See if any threads fell out. No, looks amazing. And I can go back to the screen. You don't have to go back to the screen, Sarah. Press the blue lettering again and get ready. It will go into the correct position again. And now it's clean. That's how hard it is to clean the thread catcher. And you're supposed to clean the thread catcher every 1,000 cuts. How are you going to know 1,000 cuts? It's actually on your machine under the information button. I think it's there. Yep. So it'll say total number of stitches since maintenance. This is a new machine. And now it says total number of cut cycles since cleaning. And it says 0 because I cleaned the thread catcher. It's back to 0. But it's really interesting on your machine to go in and see how many times you've used the cutter. Especially if you do embroidery, you use it a lot. So that's that. And one more thing to show you on the screen is that if you need to review the cleaning for your machine, it's usually there under the tools under oiling. And there should be a nice video there of exactly what I did today, where you take out the hook, you oil the hook, the driver itself, and then you oil the 2 oils in the hook and place it back in the machine. So there you go, easy to remember. It's all on board. Now we're ready to just put the hook back together. I'm going to put it back together. We're going to move on to the next machine in a moment, but I just want to show you a couple more things you might want to clean on your machine since you have it open. I just love cleaning my machine. It's like my connection time with my machine. I know I'm weird. I know, it's okay. The other thing you might want to do for your machine is sometimes if you keep playing with the tension and the tension of your stitches is bad, you might need to clean the tension discs. And all you do is, it's going to be right up here, Sarah, is you just take a folded piece of fabric. Don't use the raw edges, use the folded edge, and you can just place it between the tension discs and clean out the lint. Has anybody done that before? Have you cleaned out your tension discs before? Remember to use clean fabric, remember to use the folded edge, but you can certainly clean that out if you're having tension issues. It's worth doing twice a year, not a big deal. And then the last thing is you might want to clean off your machine. You can just use a microfiber cloth to clean and polish your machine. I generally just use water, but occasionally I use Windex. This is a bit that came from my optometrist because she gives me a lot of these. And I see I have a smudge on my machine, so I could just clean it off with Windex. Yeah, it's coming off. If it was still stubborn and stayed on, what could you use? You could use Goo Gone, you could use Fantastic. That's what we use at Bernina Canada. But remember, always spray your cloth and then wipe your machine off. Don't spray directly on the machine. Not great. All right. I think we covered just about everything for this machine. Generally, when your machine is not in use, you're going to turn it off. You're going to put its beautiful cover on. And remember to use a surge protector to protect your machine, or even unplug it in a thunderstorm. I think that's a great idea. All right. Any other questions on 7 series? No. Sev says, can you floss the tension discs on the 880? You sure can. I'll show you where they are. Well, let's go over to the 8 series. Are you ready? And boom, here we go. All right. Can you see me, Sarah? You're good? All right. So 8 series, you're going to clean the same way. You're going to take off the bobbin, or sorry, the needle plate. You can clean the thread catcher exactly the same way. You can clean the screen the same way, but the bobbin is a little bit different. So we're going to talk about the bobbin area. So I'm going to open this one. If you don't have an 8 series, it's completely different than the rest of our machines. It's all robotic. And see how it presents the bobbin to me? But I can't take the bobbin case out of the machine. This is the bobbin case. And I need to oil the hook, but I can't because the bobbin case is in the way. So what you have to do is actually, Sarah, I'm going to get in your way again. I just turn the machine, the handle away from me until the metal is exposed. And then I turn it the other way, so now the metal's coming down. And where you want to oil is right behind those series of dots, right where the metal reaches the metal. And it's just a drop or two, and this machine prompts me when I need to do it. I usually do it right before it needs to be done because she gets loud. This is Gladys, by the way, just in case you know. Gladys and I have been best friends since 2012. She's a lovely girl. Also, I wanted to show you, this is the new Bernina oil. So if your oil has run out and you order new oil, you'll get it in this new container. It looks sort of like a nail polish bottle. I absolutely love this container. It works great. For the first time you open it, you're going to crack the seal and then you're going to open it. So it's kind of like you have to open it twice, the very first time, and then after that it's fine. And then it's much easier to squeeze than the oil pen I showed you earlier. And you just place a drop here. And I find it so easy to manipulate. I love it. Oh, Gladys is thirsty. All right, Gladys. Okay. I gave her a couple drops. And that's basically it for 8 series. Just keep all the lint out like you normally do. And 8 series also comes with a special tool. I call it the fishing hook. I don't know what else to call it. I think it has a real name like Bernina 8 series hook tool, but fishing hook sounds better, right? And you can use this to clean threads from behind the hook. You go in at a 45-degree angle and pull them out, and you can do the same thing going the other way. So look for your fish hook and clean out any loose threads. You can sometimes get threads caught in and around here, and just take them out carefully with a tweezer. When you're ready to sew again, you're going to close up the machine. That's just resetting the bobbin case in the right place. Gladys is now yelling at me there's no bobbin in here. She knows. She's smarter than I am. So she's going to bring the bobbin case out again, and I'm just going to rethread her. Oh, I love you, Gladys. Thank you so, so much. I'm just going to continue over here, Sarah. I just wanted to warn you that some machines come with a thread lubrication kit. It looks like this. You might get something like this. It's got a little thread lubrication pad, and you put this thread lubricant on it to lubricate difficult threads, particularly metallic threads, things like that. This is not to be used on a sewing machine. See, we've even printed a little label on there. Very clever. Do not use it in your sewing machine. It's just thread lubricant. I bury this deep, deep, deep in my sewing kit because I use it very rarely. All right. And then Sev was asking, how do you clean the tension discs on an 8 series? You could use that folded technique, Sev. Your tension discs actually are right up here, and you could try to manipulate it there, but I never do. I just take my cover off. Let me see if I can take the cover off, Sarah. Use my multifunction tool. And then I can probably just use my brush and clean it from there. I rarely have any tension problems with my 8 series, but ask your technician if you have problems with that. So that's 8 series. That's our top of the line machines. Don't confuse the lead thread lubricant, and take the lint out as much as you can. If you're sewing in the morning and you're sewing again in the afternoon, you're going to want to take that lint out as much as possible. That's about it for 8 series. Yeah, you're good? More questions? Let's see. Bernina Brother on YouTube shows how to remove the bobbin case. Yep, she sure does. They sure do. Bernina Brothers are a great Bernina dealer from the US. They have lots of information there, that's for sure. All right, so we're going to move over to our little Bernette. Does anybody have a front-loading bobbin system? I have this is just a loaner machine from Bernina Canada. I'm going to pop over here. Am I okay on this side, sir? Yep, she's got it. Good. We've got a lot of cords in here, so she's doing great, right? All right. So then, this is a front-loading bobbin system. I've taken out the needle already, and you just remove your bobbin. Again, I would inspect my bobbin case, make sure it's clean. I want to take a business card and just clean under the spring. And then to remove the hook, you just remove the safety guards. The hook race comes out, and there's the little hook itself. That's it. This is a real easy one to keep clean. You just use your, help me out, cotton swab, clean off the old oil, put on some new oil. If you don't like putting the oil on there, you could put the oil on safety cap. You could put the oil right on the tip of the hook. Can you see that? And just let it go along. And then pop it into the machine, or you could put it on the metal right in the machine, whatever makes you happy. And then this machine, it's a lot easier to put the hook in if you tilt the machine back. Here's my trick. I just slip a little book underneath there, and that'll hold it back a little bit. And then I can put my hook in. And it's always awkward when I'm sitting to the side. Sorry, you're gonna have to see the back of my head. Unless Sarah's really good at this. She's just smiling at me. I'm doing it wrong. All right, see how there was 2 halves of a C, and now I've made a whole complete circle. The little hook race, it's got some little fingers. Fingers go into the machine. It's got a little divot at the bottom, and it just lines up. And you just put it in the machine and lock it again. Again, at this time, I would check that it worked, put the bobbin case in, and what I forgot to mention is always test sew after you oil. You're going to want to make sure there's no oil transferring to your thread or your project, and you also want that oil to carry all the way around the hook system. Now you'll notice I used the same oil on this hook as I did on the 7 series and the 8 series, and at Bernina we have 2 types of oil. We have a heavier weight oil and a lighter weight oil. The lighter weight is the, oh gosh, I got it backwards now. Thickness is 10. The lighter one is the 6. Okay, so this is Velocite 6, and it's meant for the electronic machines. It's a very thin oil. It wears off very quickly. The mechanical machines have a slightly heavier oil called Velocite 10, and it's meant to last a bit longer. It's thicker, and so on and so forth. I can put the light oil on any machine. I really can. It's just going to wear off faster. But that thick oil that's supposed to go on this machine, I cannot put it on 8 series or 7 series. It'll just gum it up. So be careful. Keep the oil for your machine with your machine. Be sure to use the right oil. Does that make sense? Yes. I'm glad. Everybody's happy. Everybody's been sewing. Everybody's been sewing. There's a lot of dust bunnies out there. There's a lot of dust bunnies, so clean them up. All right, so we're done with this machine. We're going to move over to the drop-in bobbin system. I'm going to get out of Sarah's way, and hopefully she doesn't make you too woozy. Now, I'm a sewing nerd, so I'm having the most fun here. I hope you guys are having fun too, because I could talk about sewing machines all day long. This is a machine I borrowed from Bernina Canada. This is a Bernette 37, and it has a drop-in bobbin system. This is the kind that has like the little plastic bobbin that goes in here. You'll find this drop-in bobbin system only on Bernettes. We don't have that on Berninas at all. The one we just did in the front-loading bobbin system, we have that on a lot of our Berninas, but you won't find this one. So this is a Bernette. If you have a Bernette 70, 77, 79. This is very similar to our little Bernina 30 series as well. Great. So you need your screwdriver. Oh, see, I'm so used to Bernina. I don't need a screwdriver to take my needle plate out. But you need your screwdriver, and you just release these screws, and you take your needle plate off. Now, the way that I've done this is I've left the screws in there. Be very careful if you do that, because the screws can fall in, and gosh, it's hard to get those out of there. So be very careful with that. And then you just take out your bobbin case. There's my bobbin case. I'm going to inspect it for lint. Ooh, it's a little bit fuzzy. I did use it for some samples at work. Great little machine. I'm going to make sure it doesn't have any needle punctures in it. I don't remember, but on the B38, there might be some felt here to help hold the thread while it has a thread cutter. So you're going to clean everything, clean all the lint out and all of that. Then you're really going to want to clean in this area, in this bobbin area, and Sarah might have to get a little closer to show you. But right here in this area, this is where all the lint collects. And I've met people that have never cleaned this area out, and it's like 4 millimeters thick with lint. So you want to clean this all out. But you'll notice in the center, there's like a felt dot. See that little white felt dot? It's filled with oil. It's actually a wick. And it carries oil to the moving parts below in the sewing machine. And really, these machines, you don't have to oil this at all. Your technician will saturate that, and it'll be great for quite a while. But the most important thing to do is to not pull it out. Ask me how I know. I was in a class where somebody wanted to clean their machine real good, and we managed to pull that out. We had a technician there, so we were able to fix it. Again, you're going to clean your feed dogs, and that's the maintenance on this type of machine. It's really kind of easy. And you just put your bobbin case back in. You just want the stopper on the bobbin case to end at the stopper, and just screw everything down again. It's a really easy one to clean out, and I would probably clean it out after every project. Maybe more if I was doing like a flannel quilt. Those are really, really quite dirty. So hopefully that helps you guys with that one. And Deborah, I knew that I would find a sewing nerd. So thank you for admitting you're a sewing nerd too. That makes me feel so much better. Cool. Now some of these machines, they might ask you in the manual, particularly the new Bernina 70 series, they want you to also oil, they don't need you to oil here, excuse me, but they want you to oil the needle bar assembly. And so what you do is you take the one screw off the back, and then you can manipulate this off. Sounds like I broke it, but I didn't. Nice try, Sarah. I didn't break it. And all you do is you oil the needle bar assembly. I'm going to grab a pencil so you can see where look, I got tweezers, even better. So this is the needle bar assembly, and you can see where it moves up and down. This is fixed here, right? But this is the part that moves up and down. And in the manual, it'll show you to drop a bit of oil here and here and at the bottom, and sometimes at the top. And that'll just keep that needle action going really, really smooth. That's what we want. Lovely, smooth stitches. And that's how you pretty much maintain a drop-in bobbin system. Can you floss the tension discs on this machine too? Heck, why not? I would, sure. Absolutely. Very easy to maintain machines. Super, super simple. Just keep the fluff out. That's it. All right, on to the serger. Sarah, we're making good time. We're going to get on our coffee break right on time today. Today's serger, this is an overlocker, a 3/4 thread overlocker by Bernina. It's the 1150 MDA. I've had this guy for, oh gosh, 10 years. Something like that, 8 years, something like that. His name is Serge. Anyway, if you're a nerd like me, you'll know that because he's Serge's, so his name is Serge. I know, I need to get out more, but that's okay. So taking care of a serger, it really couldn't be simpler. Grab a vacuum attachment and just vacuum all this stuff out. That's it. That's 85% of keeping a serger running is keeping it clean. If you sew for Caribbean Festival and you sew sequins, clean it out a lot. Clean it out a lot. And the more fluff that you have in your serger, the more it pulls out the oil from the areas that need to be oiled. And you can actually see on my machine, there's a really nice diagram here which tells you where to oil. And you just need to oil the upper looper, which is this guy here. Again, very much like the needle action. See where it's the moving part? And they just want you to oil at the bottom and at the midpoint of this. And every serger, every overlocker will have a manual, and It's about as straightforward as that. It's really quite easy to take care of an overlocker. There's only two other things you would want to think about with your overlocker. One is the blades. The blades are what do the cutting on your machine, and my machine has an upper driven blade here and a lower blade here. And sometimes you might think that the blades might need replacing, and my friend Diane, she has a great rule of thumb. She uses a lightweight jersey or a tricot, and she'll test stitch with it, and if it's coming out all cut lumpy and bumpy, she knows it's time to change the knives. And a lot of the time the knives, you might get an extra set with your machine, and if you like to, you can replace the knives yourself. I myself have never done it. I just take it to my technician and get my technician to do it. They charge me just their hourly rate and get a cleaning at the same time. I just let the technicians take care of it. So your upper and your lower blade, they wear out over time. It takes years and years and years for these to wear out. Don't sew over pins. Don't sew over really heavy fabrics. It'll last a long time. And the last thing for overlockers is your needle. You want to make sure when you put your needles back in that they are staggered. They shouldn't actually be even. They should be staggered in order to time with the looper. So if you're having problems with your serger, and you know what, we might need to do a show on troubleshooting with sewing machines and sergers, it could be your needle position, so double check that. But sergers and overlockers are very easy to take care of, and should be part of every sewing room. I just love, Serge and I have a great relationship going strong. And so that's your overlocker. Keep him covered. My Serge doesn't like to get cold, doesn't like to get dusty. You probably got a cover like this with your machine. So you just want to put this on your machine and keep him covered. And I think I've been with this guy so long, it might be time to make him a nice new Bernina cover. We'll make him a nicer cover. Well, we made it. We made it through almost all these machines. We're going to give you a little special treat. I have a vintage Bernina I wanted to show you today. This is my mom's Bernina, an 817 from 1969, and it's still going strong. I use this Bernina every now and then for special projects. If I want the most perfectest straight stitch in the whole world, I use this machine. It's got little tiny feed dogs. It's really easy to use. What's great about this machine is if you want to clean the dust out of it, you can just open the side and clean the dust out of here. It's really, really easy. I love it because I get to look at the mechanisms. This whole top pops off and I can look at the mechanisms inside, and it's honestly like a Swiss clock. It's just a beautiful thing, and I don't oil any of this. I have a technician who does vintage machines. He takes care of this machine for me. Hi, Mike. And I just love playing with this machine. But you know what's so funny about this machine is it's very similar to our machines of today. I'll show you what it looks like underneath if you're interested. If you need to go back to work, I understand. There you go. So see, it's just like our front loading system that we had on the small Bernette machine. It's just not as nicely finished, I guess you could say. Still has the same hook race cover, and the bobbin still comes out the same way. And there's the bobbin case as well. So exactly the same as it was before. This girl needs a little touch up. She doesn't have a name yet. I gotta work on her name. But anyway, you would just clean the oil off this baby and re-oil her, and she would be good as new. This is a great machine. I absolutely love this machine. So I am gonna scooch over to my seat now. There we go. I just don't want her to fall over. Cool. So I hope that helps you take care of your machines. I love taking care of my machines. It's my little Zen moment with them, and I feel like I'm taking good care of them and keeping them away from the service department more often than they need to go. That being said, every year or 18 months or so, these machines probably need a good cleaning from a certified technician. And I certainly recommend that you take your Bernina machines to a certified Bernina technician, because they have the training, they have the knowledge, and they have the experience to take care of your investment. Some of these machines are quite expensive, so you want the best possible care for them. And only Bernina certified technicians have access to Bernina parts. So you want to be sure to get to your technician. And I want to give you some helpful hints of how to get the best service out of your tech department, because it's really painful. You know, when you take your car in for service and you're without your car, it's kind of that painful to take your sewing machine in for service. So let me give you a couple of tips on how you can have a good experience. I recommend that you call ahead and call your dealer and make sure that they can service your machine. Now, probably the dealer that you're going to call is the one that sold you the machine. So they're probably going to be able to service that machine. But it does happen that you move away and you need a new dealer, or you inherit a machine. For example, my sister Mira is my sewing sister and my biological sister. So when I get a new machine, she gets my hand-me-downs. She lives in a different part of Ontario. She's going to use a different dealer than I am for convenience. So call them to make sure that they can service your machine. If it's a vintage machine, they might not even do vintage machines, so double check. Ask about availability. Some stores have a backlog right now of service, and some of them right now are doing great because we have a bit of a slowdown going on, but we do have limited hours. So you want to call ahead and book an appointment. Now you want to tell them about your machine. What's going on? Is it just for service? I've been using it for a year and a half and I think it needs a good cleaning. Or is it because it's not sewing right? Or it's making a clankety sound? Or the stitch quality is not right? Something like that. Or it's making loops when it embroiders. You got to tell them about this, because honestly, if you make it a mystery, it takes them longer to fix your machine. The longer it takes to fix your machine, the higher the bill. So please tell them. Sometimes I'll say I broke a needle and now it just doesn't sew the same. You know what I mean? Like I tell Jay in the tech department what I did to the machine, and then he can solve it that much faster. I don't break them every week, Jay, just here and there, okay? And then you can ask for a quote. But recognize that it's going to be difficult to have an accurate quote. A lot of the time, they don't know exactly what's going on with the machine, but at the very least, you could expect what the base rate might be, plus parts and labor, something like that. So I'm just putting it in for a clean oil and filter, like a regular service, and the rate at this shop is, I'm pulling out a number out of nowhere, is $199. So at least you would get a base price for that. All right, so now you're ready to take your machine in. What should you pack? What should you pack for this trip? I would ask my technician. Definitely they don't need the sewing table, they don't need the freehand system, they don't need specialty feet, they don't need your accessory box, they don't need spool caps, they probably don't need the power cord and the foot control, unless it's an older machine and it's not something they regularly have on the floor. The reason they want less of these materials is it's less to get lost in the store. There's a lot of machines going on there and they just don't want to be responsible for your stuff. And I don't want my stuff lost. And I don't want to have a fight with my dealer. So I try to give them just the bare minimum of what they need. I usually give them a bobbin in the bobbin case and the 1 or 1C foot. I bring my embroidery module if I really think there's something wrong with my embroidery. Usually if there's a problem in embroidery, it's a problem with the machine and not with the embroidery module, but talk to your technician. They might want to see it. If you're having a specific problem with a specific foot, or while you're doing a specific technique, bring that foot and bring samples. So for example, if your buttonhole, you can't get a good buttonhole, bring your buttonhole foot, bring the samples that you tried, and the technician will replicate the problem and try to fix it. So bring that along. BSR, if you can't do free motion with your BSR because you don't think it's regulating the stitches, bring it in. They might need to see it. And I have this little tip for you about BSR that I'm going to sneak in here. I once fixed a BSR problem by doing this. I cleaned the bottom of her BSR and it worked, and she had problems for 6 weeks before that. She had gotten some adhesive on the bottom window of the BSR, so just clean off the bottom of your BSR. I didn't really lick it, okay? I used a cotton swab. I'm just being exaggerating. And write a list of any of the problems so that they know. Write a list. You don't want to forget anything. It'll make it a lot better for you. Did you know your walking foot can be serviced? So if you use your walking foot a lot, bring it in. They can service the spring. They can add some oil. They take the cover off and oil it, and it's worth every penny. So ask about a walking foot service. And remember to label everything. Yes, label your 1C foot. Absolutely. A lot of stores have an intake form, and you can check the intake form. Right now with contactless service, what a lot of places are doing is they are taking the machine out of your trunk, taking it into the store. You just stay in your car. You just wait there. They inventory the machine and shoot you a little text message, and you agree that that's what you sent with the machine, and you can go on your merry way and come back at the appointed time for the contactless pickup. So anything can be done. We just need to learn to adjust to this. And then what can you expect from your technician? Your technician will probably update your machine to the latest firmware. You can do that at home yourself, but I always let my technician do it for me. Sometimes you need to do firmware with a hardware update as well, so I just let them take care of it for me. You can expect to clean, oil, and adjust. And then any additional repairs that require more payment, you should hope that they are going to call you ahead of time to arrange that, make sure that that cost is related to you. They'll communicate what's covered under warranty and what's not. So hopefully you have a great relationship with your Bernina dealer. I mean, I can't even list how many of them are so amazing. They're all amazing. We've seen them all at training. I know they're great communicators, so just keep in constant contact with them. Be patient. Parts do take a long time to get to the dealership. We don't house parts in Canada. They have to come from the south, and it does take time. So keep in communication with your dealer. Ask for a little, status update, what's happening, that kind of thing. And then, of course, get ready to get your machine back and get creative with your amazing Bernina sewing or serger or embroidery machine or your brunette machine, and get ready for years and years of more creative inspiration. So I hope this really helped you today, and I look forward to doing this again next week on Thursdays at 3. Hope you're free. I know I'll be here. But thanks so much for being here with me today, and happy sewing. Bye.